It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of February 11th, 2000. We got three notable movies to look at today, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, I guess, because this really wasn't a big hit, but of the three films that came out, it was the highest grossing of the three, and that is Leonardo DiCaprio and Danny Boyle's The Beach.
Come to the beach with me. Do you have a girlfriend?
Why? I saw them kill 4 people. Tomorrow.
He wants to know what happened.
Out of the question.
Paradise has its price.
May God take your soul.
Leonardo DiCaprio. The Beach. Rated R. Tomorrow. Only in theaters.
So this is based off of a novel of the same name, and it centers around a young nicotine-addicted traveler named Richard, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who's an avid pop culture buff and a particular love for video games and Vietnam War movies, which very hard to find many people that could say that, a love of video games and Vietnam War movies, but I digress. While at a hotel in Bangkok, he finds a map that left by a strange, whacked-out neighbor who just committed suicide. The map supposedly leads to this legendary island paradise where some other wayward souls have settled. And for Danny Boyle, this was kind of a different movie for him. This was kind of, at the time, it was his biggest project to date. I mean, the guy had just directed stuff like A Life Less Ordinary, which was not the big hit it was compared to Trainspotting, which was the film that put him on the map. And The Beach was a film that really, it didn't really give Danny Boyle that same kind of praise that Trainspotting did. It was a hit when it came out, but it was seen as a critical letdown for him on so many different fronts, and for him as well as Leonardo DiCaprio, which many people believe that the reason why this film even made money to begin with was because of DiCaprio's success post-Titanic. I mean, The Man in the Iron Mask just come out a couple months after Titanic did, but this was his first big film to come out in the year since Titanic, and according to CNN's Paul Clinton at the time, Leonardo DiCaprio's main fan base of screaming adolescent girls will be disappointed with The Beach. The majority of the film displays the Titanic-sized young heartthrob sans shirt in the story about the pseudo-angst and alienation of a young man from the United States escaping civilization from his computer-obsessed generation. And he agreed that most others that The Beach was nothing to write home about, which they were really spot on this, because this was not a film that you would expect from a guy like Leonardo DiCaprio coming off of Titanic. I mean, everyone thought he was going to be the next big thing, and this is a film that really a lot of people would have looked at this and said, this guy's really not going to go anywhere anytime soon. And sure enough, he eventually did start getting better and better projects, and down the road, he would, of course, eventually win his first Academy Award with The Revenant about 16 years later. But his career did get better once this movie came and went, and needless to say, the movie really does not live up to all of what it could have been. And for Danny Boyle, luckily this film came, and then his next film would be considered a return to form for him. That would be 28 Days Later. But we'll eventually get to that one once we get to the American release of that in 2003, even though that came out in 2002 in England, if I'm not mistaken. But the biggest problem with The Beach is that you really do not like this character that Leonardo DiCaprio plays, and you don't like any of these characters, honestly. There's nothing about the story that's really all that interesting or exciting, and it just feels like a film that had so much ambition to it, and just because it had one of the biggest stars at the time in the title role, it could sell itself, which I guess in the end it kind of did. I mean, it wasn't considered a huge flop by any means. It actually did make about almost 3 times its budget back, but considering that Leonardo DiCaprio had just come off of Titanic and Danny Boyle was trying to make a name for himself, you kind of expected a lot more compared to what you would have seen from these two guys beforehand. But unfortunately, this film just really did not work on so many levels. It's kind of a film that comes and goes. Like it's kind of like Dear John. That movie is most of the Nicholas Sparks movies outside of The Notebook. It's a film that comes around, people remember for nostalgic sake, and then they just completely forget about it and realize that, man, that movie was not that good to begin with. So, but anyway, that is The Beach. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Snow Day.
School, tired of the grind? Get ready to hurl. This winter, no school. No rules. No problem. Little foot. Paramount Pictures invites you to rule the day. Snow Day, rated PG. Now playing in theaters everywhere.
So the story of Snow Day is that you have an entire town in upstate New York closed down by this massive snowfall. A snow day begins when a group of elementary school kids led by Natalie Branston trying to ensure that the school stay closed by stopping a mechanical snowplow driver by trying to hijack his plow truck. Meanwhile, Natalie's brother Hal is using the day to win the affections of Claire Bonner, played by Emmanuel Shariki, the most popular girl in his high school, while Hal and Natalie's father Tom, played by Chevy Chase, is a TV meteorologist facing off against a rival meteorologist for weather coverage of the day's events. And the interesting thing about this movie is that this started off as originally as a film that was as an episode that was intended to be for the Adventures of Pete and Pete, or even a movie version, but they eventually abandoned it and basically decided to remake it as its own movie. This is one of those movies where you take it for what it is. It's a fun little comedy that, for being the 11-year-old that I was when this came out, and the fact that I loved it when snow days happened so I couldn't go to school, it definitely fits the 11-year-old me. It's a decent, fun movie, and most kids around that time period, I think, can really relate to it very well. But, watching it again as a much older person, it's got a lot of flaws to it. It's not the best written script for what it's worth, but it still has a lot there that is a ton of fun to watch. There are some notable downsides to the film itself. Not to say that anybody in the movie is bad. Mostly the casting in the film is where a lot of the weak points are for this film, but the ages for the actors in real life completely don't fit the characters that's supposed to be played. For example, you have people like Emmanuel Shariki and Mark Webber who are playing these high school students in their mid to high teens. Guess when they were when this movie came out? Shariki was 24 years old, and she was born in 1975. Webber was 19 and was born in 1980. Shyla Fisk, who plays Webber's friend and the love interest, is the closest, being in the high school age bracket at 17 at the time of this. And to the three's credit, they do kind of look like they're in high school, unlike most movies nowadays where they cast people obviously in their 30s to play high school students. So I gotta give the movie some credit for that. But at the same time, though, these people clearly are not meant to be in high school around this time. But at least the elementary school kids are in their proper age brackets. I gotta give them that, at least. And you do get good performances from the adult actors. You've got Chevy Chase having a very good role in here as the father. There was the meteorologist. Chris Elliott's a ton of fun to watch as the snowplow villain. Gene Smart has a couple of funny moments in here. You got Pam Grier, Iggy Pop, John Snyder, Damian Young as Principal Weaver, who has one of the easiest, funniest random gag in the entire movie. He gets pelted by snowballs by everybody. You would think it would be just for the high school students, but then it's just like, nope, it's going to be every single person, so no matter who it is. It could be high school students, it could be just people in general. You never know what it is, and that's really one of the funniest moments of the film. It's still a fun movie to watch. It's got its flaws in terms of its casting, and some of the jokes I don't think work well, but it is still a ton of fun. It's got that universal appeal that could make it work for all generations. And whether it's the kid who dreams of snow days during the school year all the time, or the adults who remember what it was like with those kids when they were their ages, it definitely works on those fronts. But do yourself a favor, avoid the musical remake that came out in 2022, because there was no reason to remake this as a musical in 2022 on Paramount Plus. But anyway, that's Snow Day, so let's go ahead and move on to our last movie that we have here for this week, and that is Disney's The Tigger Movie.
Walt Disney Pictures presents an all-new animated motion picture. Hiya, Buddy Bear! The Tigger Movie.
I got a mama. Don't you have a family somewhere too?
A family full of Tiggers, you say? Can you imagine such a thing?
Tigger's looking for his family.
Hold on, Tiggers! I'm coming to get you!
It's far too dangerous to go out there now.
But his friends just want him home.
You can't help me find Tigger. It's all my fault.
Tigger!
Discover the adventure.
Come on, hurry it up. No time for dawdling.
And believe in your imagination. With Roo,
I wish I had a big brother like Tigger.
Eeyore, Piglet, Tigger, and Winnie the Pooh. The Tigger Movie.
With us Tiggers, you gotta read betwixt the lines.
And yes, I specifically used that trailer because, if you've heard in the trailer, you hear the song Semi-Charmed Life by Third Eye Blind, which caused a little bit of a controversy. A Disney spokeswoman said that she was not aware of the sexual content within the song's lyrics. Even though you don't hear any in the trailer, like, I thought that was kind of amusing that there was a little bit of a controversy with that, using that in there, and you can very rarely find that trailer online. I was lucky I was able to find it on there, but I remember hearing that in the trailer when I saw this in theaters. So, but this film was actually the first of several different Winnie the Pooh films that came out to start the decade off. The first couple of years of the decade, I should say. This is also the first film. Basically, the story here is that you have Pooh and his friend Tigger, who's basically, as the title indicates, is the centerpiece of the story. He's searching for his family tree and trying to find other Tiggers like himself. This was also the first feature-length theatrical Pooh film that was not a collection of previously released shorts, but a straightforward storyline. Also, it's the first film of the series where Tigger is voiced by Jim Cummings, who's voiced by Pooh as well, because Paul Winchell's voice actor officially retired from the role in 1999 after A Valentine for You and died in 2005. This film also features songs by the Sherman Brothers. Originally, the film was supposed to be a straight-to-video release, but Michael Eisner heard the score for the theme for the movie, and they decided to release the film in theaters worldwide. And sure enough, the film went on to become a big success in the process, kind of leading Disney to have a new animated feature outside of the satellite studios coming out to start the year off. But Tigger goes looking for, like I said, Tigger goes looking for his family in the 100-Acre Wood. This is the third theatrical release for Disney Movie Tunes, the same studio that gave us DuckTales, the movie Treasure of the Lost Lamp, a Goofy movie, and then later on would do Teacher's Pet, all of which we've talked about in some shape or form, not either here or on the main website. But with the Tigger movie, you are definitely getting a lot more with what you would expect from not only the studio, but also for a Winnie the Pooh film. The premise is a good premise. Tigger always sings about how the most wonderful thing about Tigger's is that he's the only one, but let's be honest, everybody has to come from somewhere, so why don't we learn more about Tigger's family? Well, okay, to be fair, you don't really need to learn a lot about Tigger's family in this particular movie, but you get the argument I'm trying to make here. It's an exciting adventure to watch, and you want to learn more about where Tigger came from, and the determination to find out where his family is leads to a lot of the more thrilling moments of the film, and I'll delve into that a little bit later on, and trust me, there's a lot of those in the last third of the film. As I said before, this is the first time we're hearing Jim Cummings for the first time as Tigger, a role that he still holds to this very day, and he knocks it out of the park. He does a pretty good job of making his voices sound a lot different compared to, you know, he's got to be Winnie the Pooh in one angle, and he's also got to be Tigger as well, and so you've got those elements there, and you also have a lot of the voice actors from the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh returning as well, including John Fiedler's back in here as well. Peter Cullen's also back as Eeyore. A couple of new additions include Nikita Hopkins taking over as the role of Roo, and Kath Soucie, a prolific voice actress, taking over the role of Kanga, and the recently deceased John Hurt was the narrator of this film. And right from the opening, you can kind of tell this movie's going to be a little bit different than your typical Winnie the Pooh film. I always thought it was kind of amusing how in the beginning Tigger would be jealous of Winnie the Pooh, much like Donald Duck is jealous of Mickey Mouse, and Daffy Duck is jealous of Bugs Bunny. It's a brief scene, but it's a well-done scene. As far as the rest of the movie goes, it is very enjoyable. The animation overall is really nice. The fact that this was supposed to be a direct-to-video feature before the Sherman Brothers came in to write the songs, and it still looks this good and is very rewarding for its own merits. The colors and visuals, especially when we get to the heavier stuff in the film, the winter colors in this movie are so impressive and amazing to look at. There are some good emotional moments in here as well. There's a great connection between Tigger and Roo, and I like the way that you buy their whole big brother, little brother vibe that they have going for each other. Something that they would eventually continue on to other projects as well. Sherman Brothers music, it's the Sherman Brothers. They're usually going to put together really great music, and it definitely shows in the songs that they have in here. It was also a pretty big deal to get them back, because this is the first time they've been working at Disney since Bedknobs and Broomsticks, almost 30 years before this movie came out. They had also done the songs in Snoopy Come Home the following year, but a 28-year behind between them, and they come back and do this. It was a pretty big deal for them. A lot of the songs in here are really good. Around My Family Tree kind of sticks out the most to me. Not because of the song itself. It's a great song. But it's weird how it's presented in the movie. It's just weird to see a Winnie the Pooh movie, of all things, using pop culture references. Like you see Jerry Springer and the WWE and Hollywood and all that type of stuff. And there's a lot of them in this one sequence here. Like I said, it's out of the norm, but at the same time, it's still great to look at animation-wise. And again, the song is really good. Your Heart Will Leave You Home is the last song written for the film, and it's a collaboration between the Sherman Brothers as well as Kenny Loggins. He described the song as a song about the picture as opposed to the songs of the picture, and it's probably one of the most underrated songs Kenny Loggins has ever done. The third act of the movie is where a lot of the action takes place, and there's just a surprisingly amount of action in this. Like, you thought the scenes in Pooh's Grand Adventure were too thrilling for you? Watch the stuff they pull in this third act of the film. I mean, my God. I know that for big screen theatrical adventures based off of TV shows, you gotta have these bigger climaxes, but for Winnie the Pooh, you're not really expecting something epic and insane to happen, like a friggin' avalanche coming down and literally trying to kill all these people, kill all these characters you've come to know and love. It's a little overkill. Like, I know that the whoop-de-dooper, loop-de-looper, alley-ooper bounce, the fact that I actually was able to say that right is amazing, is a recurring thing in the movie, but when does it give you superhero-like abilities to dodge icicles that are literally coming after you as you're trying to get up from this avalanche back onto solid ground? I mean, I guess you gotta suspend your disbelief and just go with it, but because it's running on cartoon logic, and it's a nicely animated sequence, I'm not gonna lie, but there's a lot of thrilling moments that happen in this final act that feels really unnecessary when it's all said and done, but it doesn't ruin the overall ebb and flow of the film. It is a fairly enjoyable movie. It's a nice film, great animation, great music, a nice plot to work off of, great voice work. I like the message of the film. It's nicely done. It can get a little over the top at times, but it's not bad to say for a Winnie the Pooh movie. There's not a real bad Winnie the Pooh film, honestly, that I can think of when I think about it. It's still a fairly enjoyable movie. If you like Winnie the Pooh, you're definitely going to get what you want here with this. I'd recommend it. The Tigger Movie, definitely check it out. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll head into President's Day weekend 2000, coming up with 4 movies, including Bruce Willis and Matthew Perry in The Whole 9 Yards, Diane Keaton's Hanging Up, Vin Diesel in Pitch Black, and also Boiler Room, another film with Vin Diesel in it. So 4 films to look at next time, and we will delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I will see you guys next time for another episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.